copper and bronze. Great dates and accomplishments introduce the history of the world to us. But it all started small. Our ancestors survived millions of years of evolution, through which process they mastered hunting and farming, gathering and invented new tools. Wood, stone, bone and animal skin, felt, clay, iron and gold are all natural materials that have changed the course of civilization in Kazakhstan. The Bronze Age came in place of the Stone Age. Rough stone tools that helped man in his struggles against wildlife were a thing of the past. People learned to mine and to smelt copper, and then bronze. Crafts began to develop. All kinds of products appeared, such as weapons and crockery, as well as jewelry, which were made from these metals. For centuries, people were learning how to handle metal correctly, processing it in various ways, using a hammer, heat, or mixing it with other metals like lead, silver, zinc, or tin. It gave free rein to imagination and creativity. Men learned how to mine and to smelt copper about 5,000 or 6,000 years ago. It was the first metal that people began to use extensively. In the Stone Age, stone, bone, and wood were the main tools. The discovery of copper by people occurred through native ore. Soon, this radically turned around the entire history of the development of mankind. Copper has got a high electrical conductivity, which increases its value as an electrical material. Even today, most of the electrical cables worldwide are made of copper. Copper nuggets are much more common than iron, despite the fact that iron is one of the most common metals. Copper is one of the metals that is actively recycled and reused. On average, about 80% of all copper is processed in the world. In terms of production and consumption, copper ranks third in the world, second only to iron and aluminum. Scientists have discovered that water bodies containing copper produce carps that are larger in size. In ponds or lakes where there is no copper, a fungus develops quickly that affects the fish. The Statue of Liberty in New York is made of copper. Of course, this monument is not entirely copper. 31 tons of copper were used for the statue, while the total weight of the structure is 125 tons. The best chefs of the world prefer copper utensils. Copper's ability to conduct heat is the highest among the common metals and alloys. Therefore, cookware heats up quickly, and most importantly, evenly. It is difficult to imagine what significance small arms had for the ancient nomads. Bows and arrows were the main attributes of a warrior. Arrowheads were the most important part of the arrow, of course. The wooden shaft of the arrow decomposes quickly enough, but the arrowheads have survived to this day. Archaeological finds indicate that arrowheads were first made of stone and bone, and then of copper and bronze. Bronze is a rather soft alloy, but arrowheads made of it could be easily cast and sharpened. Such an arrow could seriously injure or kill the enemy. The disadvantage of these metals is that they are susceptible to oxidation. Over time, when exposed to temperature, humidity, and oxygen and carbon dioxide, the metal gradually collapses. Copper. The original Latin name for copper is cuprum, which comes from the name of the island of Cyprus, one of the first places where the smelting of this metal began. Archaeologists have found copper water pipes, which are almost 5,000 years old, in ancient Egyptian ruins. At the time of the find, they were fully operational. Often, copper is added to jewelry alloys to increase their strength, for example, gold. Copper tools cannot strike a spark when struck against another. Due to the high corrosion resistance of copper, it was used to make capsules for the burial of toxic and radioactive wastes. The average copper consumption rate with food for an adult is about 0.9 milligrams per day. Most of the copper in the human body is found in the liver. How is copper produced? The active use of copper and bronze occurred as a result of its availability and fairly simple extraction from various compounds and alloys. Copper is obtained from sulfide ores. To obtain copper, a very large amount of mineral raw materials must be processed. In metallurgical plants, mined ore is processed and roasted. The roasting process takes place in a special furnace, which is necessary to remove the sulfur from it. The result is a copper concentrate. The melting is carried out at a temperature of more than 1,000 degrees Celsius. As a result of many processes, the blister copper is obtained, and then various impurities are then removed from it. Metal is melted in special furnaces. Red copper is then formed as a result of it. Noble metals are also extracted with copper. Copper and bronze are the first metals that appeared by the will of man. With them began the era of creation and the dawn of art. Bronze can be hard and strong like a stone, changeable and fluid like water. It can shine like the sun and reflect like a mirror, and is able to serve the master unquestioningly. It will incarnate any vision of man. Ancient craftsmen began to melt the metal and obtain various alloys. This contributed to the development of various crafts. Some crafts have survived to this day. Modern Kazakhstani artisans working with copper and bronze are trying to preserve the traditions and techniques that our ancestors used. In saddle making, craftsmen combine several types of materials: wood, leather, and metal. Artistic decorations may vary, but they apply forging, casting, openwork carving, inlays, embossment, and chasing. For a horse harness, craftsmen primarily use copper, bronze, and brass. Metal plates and plaques can be from dark brown to reddish. A contrasting combination of voluminous and flat patterns all create an eloquent artistic image and emphasize the unique style of each saddle. The Kazakh Zirgir jewelers did not only use precious metals to create their jewelry, they combined wood, bronze, copper, and gold nuggets in an incredible manner. In order to create ornamental amulets and pendants, craftsmen used wood and metal strips of copper. Using a small hammer, he drives the metal into the wood, bending it and giving it its desired shape, as required by the sketch. Such products mesmerize with their uniqueness, their unique style and beauty. The craftsmen also make extensive use of copper and bronze when creating various compositions. They combine wood, bone, leather, and metal in a creative way. Wood carving is combined with bone inlays and with metal plates made of copper and bronze. The equality of the background and patterns, repeated repetition of individual elements, of which whorls and circles, squares and rhombuses, occupy the main place, and have been a distinctive feature of the ornaments of the Kazakh craftsmen since ancient times. More than 1,000 years have passed since the first coins came into being. Over the centuries, the appearance and size of coins have changed significantly. At first, money was minted from precious metals, silver and rarely gold, and later copper came into their place. Over time, all coins of small denominations began to be minted from copper. This metal was then replaced by more durable alloys, and currently we use coins from various alloys, which always include copper. From ancient times, coins have occupied a special place in the traditions and the rites of ancient people. Magical powers were given to them by the metal that they were made of. Coins have survived, their symbolic minting of which indicates that they were intended from the very beginning to be used not only as money, but also as amulets and charms. Superstitions and customs associated with coins have always been many. But in our time, there is a belief that you can attract good luck and fulfill your desire with the help of a copper or bronze coin. Copper has got a number of properties that allow it to be widely used and applied. However, molten metal does not spread well in the mold prepared for it. Therefore, copper is mainly forged. Everything changed when man discovered bronze. The new metal had several advantages over copper. It was harder and melted at a low temperature. Bronze could be melted even over a good fire. Thanks to these qualities, people have made a huge breakthrough in the manufacturing of various products. It was now possible to make not only flat, but also voluminous products. Castings from it are accurate and can be processed well. Dimensional figures or sculptures could be of different colors, from red and yellow to white and iron gray. It all depends on the percentage of copper in the alloy itself. Today, Oljas finally finished his painting and was pleased with it. He left a small art workshop and headed home. "Oljas, Oljas!" His friend Sagit shouted and ran to him, waving a paper that he held in his hand. "The telegram has arrived, Oljas," Sagit shouted joyfully. "You've won the international competition. Now you're going to go to the city. Your sculpture was recognized as the best." "How? My sculpture model won the contest?" He was stunned with joy. "Yes, I'm telling you, the telegram has arrived. Look, here's your name. I've just got it, and I rushed out to you immediately. Now you're going to become a real sculptor. What luck! What's wrong?" "I don't know. How am I going to manage it?" "You can do it. You can manage," Sagit replied firmly and confidently, patting his friend on the shoulder. "Our great Abai is going to stand in the center of the city. Or rather, your Abai. I will try," Oljas answered fervently, "and I will do my best." Time is elusive, and no one can stop it. No one, of course, but sculptors. Time freezes in their magical hands. A sculpture is not just a beautiful image. It is a way of conveying thoughts and feelings of the author at the time of its creation. Every moment is able to talk and has a lot of things to tell. The expressions of a human face, their body movements, the cloth on which not only details, but also the fabric texture is visible. Copper and bronze are metals that enliven the sculpture and give it a unique charm. Bronze. Bronze is an alloy of copper with various chemical elements, primarily metals, tin, aluminum, lead, and chromium. In the 2nd millennium BC, the Bronze Age began, but the metal itself was used much earlier. The new metal was widely used in military affairs. Bronze swords were much stronger than the copper ones. In the myth of Perseus and Medusa the Gorgon, the hero used his repolished bronze shield as a mirror. Bronze is distinct in massiveness, the strength and durability as well. A bronze alloy product can last on average more than 5 centuries. All bronze sculptures are empty inside. Their wall thickness is only 5 or 6 millimeters. Bronze is the only material used in visual arts, for which natural oxidation is desirable for the development of noble coating that protects the surface of the metal against destruction. Surprisingly, in addition to all other properties, bronze has an unusual property. It is musical. Surely for each of us, all the mentions of the word bell have our imagination bringing up wonderful ringing sounds. Most likely, the prototype of the bell was a real flower, delicate and quivering, easily responding to the slightest waft of wind. It was believed that the ringing of a bell scares away evil spirits. Over time, they began to make large bells as well. They tried to cast bells of all kinds of alloys. They used steel, cast iron, brass, aluminum, and did not even spare gold or silver. But all these materials were much inferior to bronze, which gave the bells a unique timbre, depth, and strength of sound. Since copper and tin crystals are not completely mixed in the alloy, their trembling and friction against the other create a powerful and rich sound, for which the bells are so valued.
Раз, два, три.
The conductor waves his baton. The musician's fingers touch the strings. The instruments merge into a single heat. The orchestra begins to play vibrantly and passionately. All of a sudden, the musicians have become an inseparable whole. The vivid sound of an orchestra is mesmerizing, but copper and its alloys were essential parts of music making. It's no accident that the wind instruments are called brass instruments. Copper is also used to braid the strings of a grand piano, a piano and a guitar. The deep sounds of the drums become possible due to the brass and copper bodies. Naturally, over many millennia, the metallurgy of copper and copper alloys has changed. The tasks metallurgists face have changed as well, and their working environment has also altered, as technology has improved. Only copper and bronze remain unchanged, as well as their enormous significance for the entire history of humanity. In the history of the discovery of chemical elements, there isn't any exact date or place of discovery of iron. Nowhere can we find information about who discovered this metal. Previously, iron was called after the planet Mars, which had a reddish color. It is possible that man was first introduced to iron of meteorite origins. The Iron Age came when a person learned to mine iron from rocks where there was metal.